everybody. This is the Utopia podcast. I am CDJ. Alongside me today is Tommy. Tommy, say hello to everybody.
Hello to everybody.
The song you heard starting the show is the Rutgers fight song. That was linked over at Evan's Rutgers website, so we appreciate him doing that. If you'd like to hear your school's fight song, make sure you link to our show or our YouTube channel somewhere and let us know about it. Maybe it's at your favorite college football website or somewhere else. Just let us know, and we can definitely get your favorite school's fight song to lead off our show next week. This week we had 2 doses of news. We had Monday's Madden update, which included information that pertained to NCAA football. Then we had Thursday's update on NCAA news straight from Greg Hiddleston, who posts at ncaaStrategies.com. And then we also had news on NCAA Basketball, the March Madness edition, and we'll get to all that in a little bit. First off, let's start with Monday's news. On Madden NFL, we found out that it will feature a couple new things that will be in NCAA Football 10, the first being some changes to defensive back and wide receiver interaction. First aspect, and Tommy, I'll let you talk about this a little bit since you do a great job talking about features, route running and man coverage.
Basically what they've done is they've made some drastic improvements here for animations on how defensive backs and wide receivers interact with each other. One of the biggest things is that they're using Madden as the primary example because that's what this post related to. But on Madden 09, when compared to the Madden 10 route running, the receiver runs a lot quicker on Madden 09. Well, Madden 10, they don't get off the ball as fast. They don't, just blaze by the line of scrimmage, but rather they use accurate or seemingly more accurate animations to get off the line and make their cuts. And also, cutting in and out of, like if they're running an out pattern, they'll take more of a stutter step to get to the out pattern, that sort of thing. So they've basically just kind of improved that aspect as far as getting off the line of scrimmage and running their routes so that it seems a lot more accurate. And along those lines, they've actually also touched on the defensive back covering the wide receiver. Let's go back to an out route. They'll now try to jump the route as soon as the cut is made. So, for example, if a receiver runs an out to the right, the defensive back has what they showed 2 different options. Either he'll kind of take a few stutter steps to catch his feet and then be a step or 2 behind the receiver, or he may try to jump ahead of the receiver and get between the quarterback and the receiver. Basically, it just gives us more options so that the defensive backs have more traits so that they can, either succeed or fail in trying to cover the player.
Located at insideblog.easports.com. There are YouTube videos showing off all the things that Tommy is talking about, the 09 versus 010 comparison of all of these to give a better example of how they've implemented this into Madden 10, and it will be also NCAA Football 10. Another aspect they changed or added a little bit was wide receiver and defensive back jostling. Tommy, talk about that a little bit.
If you've played any of the soccer games, I believe both of the popular soccer games have this in FIFA and Winning 11. If you've played either of those, you can basically, while a player is running down the field with the ball, if you're the defender, you can kind of jostle him with him to try to knock the ball loose from him and try to throw him off of his game. Basically, they've brought that over to the football side, the American football side of things, so that the defender will kind of jostle with the receiver before the pass is thrown. They're wanting to kind of get to where the defender can kind of slow down the receiver a little bit and kind of interfere with him. This can do 2 things. I mean, basically they're factoring this off of the man coverage ability. If the defender has a poor man coverage, then he might jostle him too much and end up getting called for pass interference. So it looks really good, and I can't wait to see it in both Madden and NCAA.
I agree with that 100%. I think these are some sorely needed additions, and it's great to see them in. And it's even better to find out in early March that these are going to be in the game, along with there's going to be some issues with the battle between the receivers and DBs, with the press and release. There's a whole list at the Inside blog about the changes made there. And they also talk about procedural awareness and how that's going to factor in a little bit. That it's really probably one of the better blogs we've had so far. And I think what really makes it great is that will be in NCAA Football 10 as well. The blog at the very beginning talks about defensive assignments and matchups. That will not be in NCAA Football 10. A little disappointing, but I think the stuff below that we mentioned a little bit earlier is probably the more prevalent stuff. There's also defensive assignments and matchups, and that'll be in Madden 10.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm hoping we can get that into NCAA in the future, just because that'll help alleviate some of the issues of guys taking a fast receiver at tight end, that sort of thing. That way you can put your best corner on their best receiver at any time, no matter where he's at on the field.
It's something that I think is disappointing. It's one of the few disappointing things we've had so far. That maybe, and the QB ratings not making it in that we talked about in an earlier edition of the podcast. Like you said, hopefully down the line they'll add that in. Hopefully it'll be really successful in Madden, and that way the NCAA team will be forced to add it in down the line. Also, recently we had news on NCAA Football 10, updates to Super Sim. Greg Hedleston, he posted ncaaStrategies.com and has been great about taking questions from the community. He's added in some new things to Super Sim. One of it is on-field presentation. A new twist in last year's game, Super Sim was essentially just a text menu that popped up on the screen. Well, this year the overlays are going to appear on the field, which I think add really it's really a neat feature because it feels like you're still in the game, that you're not leaving it to some text-based simulation. Tell me, what do you think about that?
It looks really good. It actually gives us a feel for, number one, they've got images to show us the changes they've made to the interface, but then it also shows us what the scoreboard at the bottom of the screen will look like. It looks really clean. It looks really nice. But the presentation itself is, it's nice to just have a visualization of it.
We see our first look at this year, the score overlay banner at the bottom of the screen, and it does look really sharp. And I think that's something that's been pretty universal among the comments in the community, that everybody agrees that looks pretty nice. Some of the other changes made to Super Sim, there'll be updated CPU clock management. This way, late in the game, computer coaches will call timeouts when needed, and also late in the game, if they have a lead, they will burn the clock by running the ball or kneeling it with the quarterback. In Campus Legend, there's a new feature to skip a play. Yesterday, I played some Campus Legend, so this really hit home. If you have a play, let's say you're a running back for your Campus Legend, and the play is something for the running back to stay in and block, you can just skip that play because a lot of people don't really care to sit there and block every time on their Campus Legend, which I think is a good addition.
Agreed. I honestly don't play Campus Legend that much, but it was annoying the few times that, if I was a receiver on a running play, I don't want to sit there and try to block a cornerback, especially if the play is going to the opposite side. So now I can just take those plays off and just let the computer sim it for me.
It's a great addition. I know a lot of people don't really use Super Sim a whole lot. I know the most I ever really see it is in Campus Legend. But I think there are quite a few people who do use it, mainly if they don't have time to play a full game and they have a big lead in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, and don't want to just run the clock out or whatever, that they will use Super Sim to get the game over and a new one started. So I think for those people who maybe were a little, I don't want to say maybe bummed about this news, that this was the update for the week, I think we have to remember it's still March, it's a long time to go, and I think there are people out there who will use this and really enjoy it.
Agreed. Basically we're getting pretty much 2 updates in one every week between Madden and NCAA. Granted, not all news that has come out has applied to both games, but it's nice to not only see the updates and see what is applying to NCAA, but then also find out for sure what's not applying to NCAA. For example, like the wide receiver defensive back matchup, that sort of thing. Basically, we're finding out all sorts of info here in the very early stages, and it's just opening the door for them to have some really big announcements for later in the year. I know that that's one thing that they wanted to kind of tweak this year with marketing, so that they didn't release all of the information straight on, rather they kind of came out in spurts, and I think they're building up to some really good information.
Final bit of news today relates to NCAA Basketball. For Xbox Live and Xbox 360 owners, they will have the ability to purchase what is called NCAA Basketball 09, the March Madness Edition. For $15, you will get purely the tournament, nothing more, nothing less. And on March 18th, users who have the full disc version on both 360 and PS3, plus the March Madness Edition people on 360, for free can download the bracket pack with updated tournament field and some updated team ratings. So if you have NCAA Basketball, very good news. But the bracket pack is coming March 18th, and the March Madness Edition coming to Xbox Live on March 11th. And with that, that wraps up the Utopia podcast. Tommy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, thanks for listening to this edition of the Utopia podcast.